Rings of Power Season 1 just ended, so here's a quick recap in case you don't want to waste your time watching the whole thing, or if you just wanted a reminder before watching Season 2. Let's go. We go in plot by plot in every episode so that it's easier to follow. We start with Galadriel's brother dying, fighting Morgoth. So she does what any normal sister would do and steals his dagger from his dead body. And then she vows to go on a lifelong mission to kill Sauron. We find her searching an empty castle in the Snowlands in the north where Sauron was last spotted. We find that Sauron was doing evil sorcery that Galadriel can't figure out. So unhappy about it, Galadriel returns to Lindon with her whole crew. There, King Gil-galad declares the war over and forces Galadriel to retire and sail off to Valinor. In the last moment, Galadriel bails at the doors of heaven. At least she knows that she's not worthy. So she jumps into the ocean to swim back to Middle-earth. We also meet the people of the Southlands. These people are being watched over by the elves because they used to be tight back in the good old days with Morgoth. So the elves think that they are still bad. Here, a healer known as Bronwyn is hooking up with one of the elves, probably because of his fresh trim that he got. The elf is called Arondir, and her son finds a mysterious sword hilt but doesn't tell anyone about it. Before the episode ends, Bronwyn and Arondir go to the next door village and see that everyone there is missing. We also meet the harfoots, which are basically hobbits, but they couldn't call them that to not upset the fans. These people stay alive by migrating and hiding from everything else in the world. We meet a Norian poppy. At the end of this episode, we see a massive meteor coming down and crashing into Middle-earth. As this happens, the leaves down in Lindon start to rot away, which scares the elves. Inside the crash site, Nori and Poppy find a wizard laying there. He wakes up, but he has no control over his powers and can't speak. So not Frodo and not Sam decide to hide him from his village whilst they try to figure out how to help him find the stars he's looking for. Meanwhile, Barber Elf finds some tunnels and decides to jump in instead of warning his fellow elves, whilst the healer Bronwyn goes back to warn her village. They don't believe her until she kills an orc with her son and brings its head to them. They then decide to go to the elves' watchtower. Whilst in the tunnels, Arondir gets kidnapped. Back in Elf Town, Elrond is made to help Celebrimbor in the construction of a massive tower in an impossible amount of time. This results in them travelling to Khazad-dûm because Prince Durin of the dwarves is Elrond's bestie and will definitely help him out. After swimming who knows how long, Galadriel finds a raft with people on it who are rather racist towards her at first, but a massive worm kills them all, apart from one man who saves Galadriel from the storm later on. This man is known as Halbrand, and Galadriel believes he's the king of the Southlands because he has a pouch with a symbol on it. They float around until they get picked up by a Numenorian ship. When Galadriel and Halbrand arrive at Numenor, Galadriel tries to force Queen Miriel to send her back to Middle-earth, but Numenor and the elves are not as tight as they used to be, so she says no. Halbrand really tries to work in the forge, but commits a few crimes like stealing, breaking bones, which land him in prison. Here, Galadriel also finds out that the symbol Sauron has been leaving everywhere. It's just a map fragment for Southlands, because he wants to build a home for the Orcs. At the Harfoots camp, the wizard accidentally reveals himself, which leads to Nori and her family being put at the back of the line, despite her dad having a broken foot. This would undoubtedly be a death sentence, as the Harfoots don't care if anyone is left behind and don't stop for anyone. But luckily for them, the strong big wizard feels bad and offers to pull Nori's cart for her so that they have a chance to live and stay with the group. We find out that Arondir got kidnapped by the Orcs and brought to dig tunnels for them. Luckily for him, all his elf friends are there, so maybe it's good that he didn't go back to warn them, as it would have been a waste of time. The elves try to escape, but they are killed, apart from our Barber Elf, who meets Adar, elf in charge of the Orcs. It turns out Adar is not Sauron, he is just a very old elf, and he classifies the Orcs as his children. He sends Arondir back to the people to tell them to surrender, and it turns out that the sword hilt that Theo found earlier is exactly what Adar and the Orcs need to fulfill their plan. We find out that the sword was hidden by Waldreg, the tavern owner, who is still a big Sauron fan. Inside the mountain, Elrond accidentally finds out that the dwarves were hiding mithril from him, very precious but dangerous to obtain. Durin accepts to help the elves build their tower and sends his son to spy on the elves to find out what they know and to like this video. In Numenor, the princess has a vision of Numenor flooding. He then shares the destruction of Numenor vision with Galadriel. This somehow results in Galadriel persuading the queen to begin war on the Orcs in Middle-earth. Isildur, who we've seen in the previous episode but he didn't do anything, gets kicked off the Sea Guard with his friends because he wasn't feeling it, but they all decide to join the army going to Middle-earth. Galadriel, Mira and Halbrand finally decide that they will leave after Galadriel emotionally blackmailed Halbrand, making him feel bad for not helping his people. However, some guy... Wait a minute. Sorry. Kemen had to Google what his name was, tries to blow up the ships that they prepared to sail. In a massive luck of events, Isildur was on the same ship trying to stall away as his dad did not let him go. So the ship explodes and Isildur saves Kemen, which results in his dad signing his permission slip, but as a stable boy, so he can go to Middle-earth. Back in Lindon, Elrond learns that Gil-galad sent him to the dwarves for the mithril, as it can stop the decay that has been growing since episode 1. Prince Durin wants to save his throne, so they go back home to persuade his dad to help. Oh yeah, and the wizard saves the fake hobbits from wolves in this episode whilst the harfoots are travelling, but then he hurts Nori whilst he's trying to heal his arm, so she feels a bit iffy about him. In the Southlands, the villagers hear the message brought by Arondir, and half of them, led by Waldred, decide to go join the Orcs because they don't want to die, which is fair enough. The other half stays to fight, led by the healer Bronwyn. Theo shows the sword hilt to Arondir, and he shows a carving showing that is a key to help the Orcs. They're prepared to fight. Adar and his bunch of friendly Orcs go to the tower, to only find Arondir there. They set a trap, and he makes the tower fall onto the Orcs by shooting one rope. I'm serious. I'm not joking. One rope held the whole thing together. The villagers then go back to their village to prepare for the rest of the Orcs. The Orcs finally come and the villagers win, but it turns out they were fighting their old village buddies. Then Bronwyn gets shot, and Adar comes with the real army. To stop his mom getting her throat cut, Theo hands the sword key to Adar. But as that happens, the Numenorians arrive with their army, fully Gandalf at Helm's Deep style. They kill most of the Orcs but capture some with Adar. Galadriel tries to interrogate him about Sauron, but she doesn't get anything out of it apart from the fact that he killed him. Then we find out that Waldred was given the key by Adar earlier on, and he puts it into the dam. Now, for the most stupid part of this season so far, give me a second. The key opens up the dam, which releases the stored water, which travels through the tunnels that the Orcs were building straight into the dormant volcano. This water then makes the volcano erupt and causes the whole area to be covered with hot black smoke and volcanic ash. And Galadriel faces it head on. In the fire and smoke, lots of people were hurt, lost, killed, and the name of Southland changes to Mordor. Shocker. Isildur gets buried by a burning building, and Queen Miriel loses her sight. Galadriel escorts Theo back to the camp where she sees Halbrand is fatally wounded, so she decides to ride with him to Lindon so the elves can help him. Before this, she makes a pinky promise with Miriel that Numenor will help the elves fight the Orcs again. Elrond and Prince Durin arrive in Khazad-dûm and plead his dad to help, but he says no, because it will endanger his own people. So they do it anyways. After they've seen a piece of mithril heal a rotten leaf. They don't mind for long before King Durin catches them and he kicks Elrond out and disinherits his son for not following his orders. Meanwhile, at the Harfoots camp, they kick out the wizard because he accidentally dropped a branch on Nori's sister while trying to heal the trees. This did the next day lead to him actually fixing all the trees in the area. 3 witches arrive at the camp that have been looking for the wizard for a few episodes now, and Nori tries to send them the wrong way, and they burn the whole camp down and move on with their day. The witches then find the wizard and believe that he is Sauron, but they tie him up because he can't use his magic properly yet, so I guess they're scared of him. Seeing this, Nori and her little gang tries to save him, but in the end the wizard saves them, as he is not in fact Sauron, shocker, but an Istari, and sends the 3 women into the Shadow Realm. The leader of the Harfoots dies in this rescue mission after being stabbed, and they leave him to die as they return to camp. Nori then decides to go with the stranger on an adventure to Rhûn so that he can learn to control his magic. Queen Miriel arrives back in Numenor to find that her father had died. Just before he died though, he showed Isildur's sister his secret chamber. Finally, Halbrand arrive at Eregion. Here Halbrand helps the mighty Celebrimbor to forge the little mithril they had with other metals to make it stronger. Whilst this is happening, Galadriel finds Halbrand a little bit sus, so she does some extra research and learns that he is indeed Sauron. Shocker. He tries to make her his queen, but she says no. She doesn't tell Celebrimbor or Elrond that he was in fact Sauron, and carries on forging what his idea was, but making 3 instead of 1. You outplayed him there. So they make the 3 elven rings, despite her knowing Sauron had extra involvement with them and it was part of his plan. We end with Halbrand or Sauron being back in Mordor, walking towards Mount Doom. I was thinking of cutting the Harfoot storyline out of this summary because it doesn't add anything to the story, but it was in the show, so I stuck to the original material. Did you watch the show? Are you looking forward to season 2? Let me know in the comments. Thank you for listening to this recap from Under a Rock.